When you're a babysitter, what's your utmost priority? Taking care of the children? Keeping them safe? Or is it staying alive? Hello bingers, Binge and Go Movies here. Today I'm going to talk about a psychological horror thriller movie recap from 2006 titled When a Stranger Calls. Watch out for spoilers and let's get into the video. The movie starts off with a montage of the carnival late at night, eerily accompanied by the sound of children's laughter. Soon, the scene pans towards the sight of a man's silhouette standing against the window, followed by a blood-curdling scream muffled by the festival's crowd. The following days, an officer named Lewis receives a case report. A detective, Detective Hines, was also invited to aid in the investigation. When approaching the crime scene, Detective Hines inquired Officer Lewis on any leads or clues that may help with his investigation. Officer Lewis simply responded that they are wading through it all. Confused by Officer Lewis's response, Detective Hines asked about the murder weapon. There were no weapons, Officer Lewis said. Despite not providing much help, Detective Hines shared that this is a murder case he encountered many times before. As Detective Hines uncovered the murder room, he was mortified to be welcomed by what we can only assume to be a massacre of 3 children and 1 babysitter. 125 miles away at Fernhill High School, we're introduced to Jill, your average high school girl from the track team. Just as she was done with her practice, she was spotted at the locker with her phone in her hand. In comes Bobby, Jill's ex-boyfriend, who tries to apologize and explain the supposed misunderstanding that happened a few months ago where he kissed her best friend. Jill ignores him and goes to see her friend Scarlett. Jill tells Scarlett that she can't pick up anyone to go to the bonfire because Jill has to babysit at night as her parents' punishment for being on the phone for too long, which supposedly costed them quite a lot. While the other students are getting ready for the bonfire party to be held in the evening, Jill goes back to her home. Jill's father, Ben, takes her to the home where she will babysit. As they cruise through the mountainous road decorated with foliage, Ben tries to initiate a conversation with Jill. What starts off as an attempt to confront Jill on the hard decision that Ben has to make as a father turns to a banter typical of a healthy father-daughter relationship. They stop their conversation as they took a turn to a scenery that screams extravagance and exquisite taste, the Mandrakis family home. It took them a while to soak in its glory before eventually pulling into their driveway. Dr. Mandrakis welcomed Jill on his doorsteps. Jill then toured the house guided by Dr. Mandrakis' wife, Kelly. Kelly also shows her the numbers Jill can call in an emergency and introduced Rosa, the housemaid. As she was about to finish, she points out towards the lake that there is a guest house not far from the main house where his college son resides. Upon leaving the house, Dr. Mandrakis input the code for an alarm system for worst-case scenarios. Hours has passed, and Jill grows tired of waiting. Jill explored Dr. Mandrakis and his wife's private room, and tries on some of Kelly's jewelry as well as Kelly's clothes. Alarmed by the sound of a door moving, she quickly rushes out of the room and pretends to read a book. When she hears the knocking sound again, Jill assumed it was Rosa's voice, but quickly spotted Rosa in the greenhouse feeding the birds and fishes there. Jill then gets a call from a stranger, but the stranger doesn't say anything. The family home alarm system goes off, so Jill quickly enters the pin to turn it off. Kelly calls Jill, saying that the alarm company called her. Did the alarm woke the kids up? Kelly asked. No, Jill replied. They're still sound asleep. Well, don't wake them up because they're very sick right now. With that, the conversation ended. But not soon after, Jill gets another call. The sound of a man asks if everything is okay, but before Jill had the chance to respond, the phone disconnected. She also noticed that the lights were on for some reason. Knowing that the house is installed with sensor-activated lights, it was peculiar to see them turned on. The phone rings again, and when she picks it up, the stranger asks whether everything is alright, and the call ended yet again. Scared, she armed herself with a fireplace poker and searches the garden to the kitchen, but still, there's no one except herself. She decides to grab something from the fridge, and before she eats it, the phone rings for the 3rd time. Tiffany shows up and she says that she stops by to take Jill to the bonfire, but Jill refuses for fear of getting into further trouble. Jill is afraid of not being considered competent by the Mandrakis family at work for bringing her friend into their home. Jill tells Tiffany to go home immediately, and so she did. However, as Tiffany was about to exit, a massive tree branch blocks her from exiting. Tiffany tries to get rid of the branches before being attacked by something. Not long after Tiffany left, someone bangs on the front door. When Jill opened it, no one was to be seen. Jill sets the alarm and locks the door. Bobby calls Jill, but the signal in the camp bonfire area isn't very good. Jill asks Bobby if he is the one who keeps calling Mandrakis' house number because she thinks she is getting pranked. But Bobby replies that it was his friend who pranked Jill. Bobby says that he already told them to stop bothering Jill. Jill gets another call, but this time it was from Tiffany's cell phone. Jill picks up the phone and a man answers the phone. Jill is scared, so she voicemails Kelly to tell her to reach out to Jill as soon as Kelly sees it. Jill also calls the police to report that she gets a call from a stranger every 15 minutes. After seeing Rosa's car is still in the house yard, Jill feels more safe. The officer tells Jill to be careful and calls back if Jill needs anything. Jill calls Rosa and she hears Rosa's cell phone ringing. She tries to follow the direction of the ringing towards the laundry room. Jill turns off Rosa's cell phone after finding it in her bag. A man calls and asks, "Have you checked the children?" Then she turns the call off. The man calls again after Jill checks the children's room. He now asks how the children's were. Knowing that she is being watched, Jill closes all the curtains in the house and immediately calls the police. The police suggest that Jill should stay on the phone line with the stranger for 60 seconds so that the phone could trace the caller. When the stranger calls again, Jill tries to talk to him, but the man turns it off 7 seconds before a minute. Jill calls the son of Dr. Mandrakis, who is at the guest house, but she could only send a voicemail. Jill sees someone's reflection from the guest house window, so she decides to check the house. After arriving at the guest house, she finds out that the guest house is empty. The landline in the guest house rings, and Jill picks it up. She manages to stay on the phone line for 60 seconds, but then she notices that the stranger calls from a different number, and the police can't trace it. Jill sees that the light in Rosa's room is on, so she returns to the main house. Arriving at the main house, Jill's phone rings. As she picks the call up, she walks towards Rosa's room. Jill asks why this man keeps calling her. The man then replies, "Your blood all over me." As soon as he hangs up, she goes to check the bathroom upon hearing the sound of running water. The phone rings again. She is pissed off, but before she says anything, the police state that the calls are coming from inside the house. He orders Jill to leave the house immediately. She sees Tiffany lying stiff on the floor with her cell phone ringing as she turns around to get out of the bathroom. Jill becomes hysteric and scared. She immediately leaves Rosa's room and heads out to the children's room. When she removes their blanket, she only finds pillows. The children are no longer in their room. She goes to the playroom and finds that the children were hiding in the toy box. She tries to find a way out. When she looks up to the ceiling, she sees the stranger watching from up there. Jill quickly locks the playroom door and orders the children to get out of the room that leads to the greenhouse through the window while she tries to hold the door. Jill and the children manage to escape from the room and they try to hide. Jill turns on the sprinklers in the greenhouse so the stranger can't see them from the outside. Jill tells the children to hide while she will hide under the water. Jill discovers Rosa's lifeless dead body under the water. The stranger walks slowly, entering the greenhouse. As the automatic sprinkler turns off, the two Mandrakis children who are trying to escape accidentally step on the rock and make a sound. The children run to the door that Jill had previously locked but can't reach for it. The stranger lets the children run away while he remains in the greenhouse and searches for Jill. The stranger tries to get a hold of Jill, who is still underwater. But Jill manages to overturn the bridge, causing the stranger to fall into the water, and she takes the chance to escape from him. Jill unlocks the door and searches for the two Mandrakis children who are hiding. As she sees the birds out on the stair, Jill realizes that the stranger has managed to get out of the greenhouse. She checks the greenhouse and finds that the greenhouse glass is already broken. She searches the two children throughout the house and finds them hiding in the fireplace. Jill manages to take the two Mandrakis children out of the house, but the stranger catches her. He closes the door and blocks it. The stranger chases Jill up the stairs. He grabs Jill's leg and pulls her in. The situation becomes more intense. Jill manages to kick the stranger, but he remains successful in grabbing her leg and choking Jill. She tries to hit the stranger's head with a bottle, but it misses and the bottle flies towards the fireplace. She tries to reach the remote control to activate the fireplace, and she lights it as soon as she gets a hold of the remote. The alcohol, combined with the fire from the fireplace, creates a sudden burst of flame and hurts the stranger. After she manages to free herself from the stranger, Jill grabs the fireplace poker and she stabs through the stranger's hand to the hardwood floor. She rushes out from the house and into the police officer. The police explains to Jill that she is safe now and that the stranger has been caught. The police also assure Jill that there are 4 other police officers who will keep a close watch on the stranger. Dr. Mandrakis and his wife are home, and they are now with their 2 children. Both Jill and the children are safe. Days later, Jill awakes to a popped balloon while recovering in the hospital. She gets out of bed and walks out of the room. She looked around, but there's no one to be seen. She hears the telephone ring, but decides not to pick it up until it hangs up by itself. She closed the door, and she screams hysterically as the physicians and her dad desperately try to stop her from her frenzied panic. This movie truly gave a lasting impression of the build-up to trauma and its unfortunate lasting effects. Do you think you would survive if you were in Jill's shoes? Tell us down in the comments down below. Be sure to drop a like and click that subscribe button. Also get notified whenever we post by ticking the bell right over there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to keep on binging.